And there it is. Beautiful. Now to get into my own little persona here. Hello, and welcome to the Rock Metal Podcast. I am your host, John Harris. Today on the Rock Metal Podcast, we have Enslaved. They've got a new album called Utgård, which was released on October 2nd via Nuclear Blast Records. Right now, I'm being joined by Grutle. I said that right this time, did I?
Yeah, pretty close.
Grutle, perfect. To share some information about what Enslaved has been up to, what they've got coming up. So, Grutle, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, John.
Absolutely. Great to have you on. Now, I guess we'll just jump straight into what you guys have been up to, because there was a lot of really cool things that you had mentioned there in the pre-roll. Not that canceling 2 tours is cool, but something that you mentioned was it feels weird to not be touring going into the quarantine situation. And I guess maybe expand on that. Has that created, I don't know, like some kind of an inertia where you've been going so long on touring and all of a sudden it's come to a stop? What has that inertia been like?
Well, it caused a sense of desperation, really, because for the past 20 years we've always been occupied with something connected to touring or recording and everything that surrounds band activities. And suddenly we had nothing. We were supposed to play our first show for the year in the Netherlands in March, and that was the first that got cancelled. It was a festival called Prognosis, which we were looking very much forward to. So basically, we thought that was, maybe this lasts for a couple of weeks and then it's over, like the swine flu pandemic some years back. But suddenly, it didn't pass at all. And nowadays, we don't know how long this is going to be around, how long it's going to take. So it created a weird vacuum, so to speak. There was suddenly absolutely nothing, and that led into this concept of online shows, streaming shows. So the first we did was we participated in a streaming festival here in Bergen, in Norway. They had like one band each day, so that took place I think that was the 1st of April, and after that show and after the pretty overwhelming response we got from doing such a thing, we decided to, go on with that concept. So there's 3 online shows coming up this summer. The first one took place last Friday, as a matter of fact. And there's 2 more coming up later, one in August and one in September. And just right after that, we'll have the album release of Utgård on the 2nd of October. So things are happening, and we have been, trying to keep ourselves busy, try to do the best out of this pretty unique and weird and horrible situation, to be honest. But we have to go on somehow.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. And I'm curious, how is the online streaming thing working for you guys? And obviously you mentioned that it's an overwhelming response. So obviously a virtually overwhelming response, a virtual standing ovation. There were a lot of likes clicked that day, I guess. But I guess what was that like for you guys? And what's it like doing the online streaming? Is it something to get used to, or was it pretty natural? Or how did you guys unfold with that?
We've done 2 shows so far, and it's hard to get used to because after so many years, you're pretty much used to when you play a song, when you play it live, you're used to the interaction between the band and the audience, the energy exchange, the symbiosis, if you like, and none of that is present at all, none whatsoever. So it's always. The strangest thing is to after each song there's like complete silence, and that really that really fucks up your mind a bit. So that I hope I will never get used to that, because I'd rather play a live show than an online show. And believe me, it's a lot easier. It's a lot more enjoyable to play in front of a real audience. But I mean, this is the second best thing you can do. So I will rather do this than not do anything at all. So, yeah.
Something you mentioned was the album was supposed to be released in May, and then it was postponed to October. And I guess what went into the decision to postpone it?
Well, it's pretty logical, really, because everything was locked down in May. I mean, everything. So it really meant that we couldn't even print the copies. There were not if we could print them, there were nobody to handle the postage and and let alone the shops and everything. So everything was in complete lockdown. So it was really not a difficult decision at all. I mean, if you're going to release a physical product, you have to have people handling the actual products, and they were not around. So it wasn't really possible.
Okay. Now that just makes sense.
It
and now coming into the tracks, first track I believe that was released was a track called Homebound. It was like an A-side, B-side. Is featured, appears to be somewhere in the middle-ish, if we were to look at like an arc of a story, perhaps in the middle-ish of the album. So I guess take us through this track. What is Homebound? And with regard to the album, is it, I don't know, some kind of is there a protagonist who is homebound?
It's actually a little paying a little homage to the area the area and the history and the mythology, the mysticism of the western part of Norway, really. And it's really some sort of a wide concept to fathom, of course, because I mean, if you're going to put like 1,500 years of history into a 4-minute song, that's a hard achievement. So, but I mean, we tried our best. So it's like a little tribute to who we are, where we come from, and the history and mythology of the area.
Okay. Is that something that only exists then in Homebound, or is it something that permeates through the album? Homebound
is somehow connected to the whole concept of Utgard, but it might be the most positive song on the album. I mean, it's about Utgard is a very unsecure place to be, and Homebound symbolizes some sort of where you are anchored. Where you are secured before the actual journey into Utgard, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Now you mentioned it's an unsecure place. You just mentioned it's a journey into a place. Is this a purgatory? Like, is this some kind of a hell or a Gehenna or a?
No, not really. No. It's not like a purgatory or Gehenna like in the monotheistic religions. It's not like that at all. It's more like the outer rim or the outer limits of your, let's say, your own mind. It's very. Let's draw a parallel to yourself in the state of being awake when you're in total control. That can be symbolized as the realms of Midgard and Asgard, the men and gods, while close your eyes, go to sleep, and then the dreams appears, and then you are in some sort of Utgard, where the giants dwell, where everything is like upside down and where everything is psychedelic and where everything is unpredictable. That's Utgard.
Okay, I'm looking it up right now on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And it literal meaning is out yards, so the outer space, which is exactly what you just said.
Yeah, it can be looked upon as outer space as well. And in the mythology, it's the home of the giants, the enemies of man and gods.
Okay, you're not wrong. This is difficult to put into a 4-minute song.
It's all about. It's utopic, but I mean, you can say that the road is the goal.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to the video, it's a very interesting video with it's kind of like a live playthrough video, but it's interesting. So I guess maybe, and then they've got the bedsheet person, which is really creepy.
Yeah.
I guess take us through this music video. What went into crafting the video for Homebound?
It was the first video we shot was up in Iceland, and it was a video for Jettegryta. And when we saw the final result of that, we wanted to invite the same director, Guy, from an Icelandic director. We wanted to invite him to Bergen to shoot a video there as well. So the Homebound video is like 60% shot in Bergen, with us playing and all that. And the rest is shot on Iceland. All the ravens, the sea, the waves. That's shot on Iceland.
Because they have ravens and sea and waves.
Well, the interesting thing, they only have ravens up in Iceland. They don't have crows and so the main bird on Iceland is actually ravens.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
I didn't either, actually, believe it or not.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I mean, occasionally when bands come through, some people are really into birds, and they'll note like, hey, in Edmonton, you guys have, insert here. And I'm like, yeah, I just don't pay attention to birds, but it's kind of interesting how, some people are really into noticing that there are certain birds in certain areas. And I just kind of think they all fly around, but I guess they certainly gravitate to certain areas.
So the only birds in Edmonton, they exist in bars.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, ho, ho.
Hey! Bar sluts.
Love lizards.
Exactly. Oh, man. You're such a good drummer. Yeah, speaking of which, significantly, it feels more aggressive to me. But as you mentioned, that Homebound is kind of like more of a safe place to be. I guess musically, that's why it seems like such a soothingly melodic track, especially in comparison to the Jettegryta, which seems significantly more aggressive. Especially with the music video, we have this young man, unfortunately, trying to break free, or maybe fortunately trying to break free. I guess that's the juxtaposition. What is Jettegryta? What are we getting into in this particular track?
Jettegryta is directly translated to Giant's Cauldron.
That's epic.
Yeah, it's pretty epic. I mean, those they do exist in nature. It's like a cauldrons made out of through the ice age when the ice were moving towards the sea, melting.
Mm-hmm.
They created this cauldrons that the Norse called. The Norse believed that they were carved out by the giants to cook in.
This makes sense.
Yeah, well, yeah. So
he's got to get under the earth to light a fire. But I mean, they could do that.
Of course, they can do that. Of course. So it's like I told you that the giants, they are the opposite of the gods. They are the dreamlike creatures, the tricksters. So obviously they are more treacherous and more hostile, but at the same time they represent your own creativity, your own sense. Let's say the sense of humor after you've been drinking too many beers and when you do stupid shit. That's the giants.
In bars in Edmonton with girls.
For example, in bars in Edmonton with birds. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, with birds.
Yeah.
With those magpies.
Yeah, exactly. The magpies.
Yeah, the magpies and the cherry pies.
I prefer the magpies.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's it.
I mean, it seems incredibly deep. And I mean, not to say that a metal album shouldn't be deep, but I mean, I guess interestingly enough, what went into crafting the lyrical content for the record? I mean, was it something that you guys have always wanted to write about? Is it something you guys revisit often?
Well, this concept in particular was pretty much ready before we even started working on the actual songs, me and Eva had pretty much everything panned out, concept-wise and cover art-wise as well. So that was so you can say that the actual songs were crafted after we carved out the concept, so to speak. So, we usually do it the other way around. So that was an interesting process. So all the songs are kind of colored by those visions we had early on in the process. So yeah,
cool. So you guys made the Giant's Cauldron, and so you could cook in, and then you made,
and then we cooked
all of them.
We cooked all the songs in there.
Beautiful. Something you mentioned was that you guys typically don't do it that way, where you sit down, come up with the concept, artwork, everything, and then come up with the music. So was that a conscious decision?
Not really. It just ended up like that this time because we had sort of a clear idea of what we wanted to sing about, write about this time. Usually, it's something that goes on simultaneously, and both music and lyrics and back and forth. But weirdly enough, the concept was ready this time.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just kind of curious then, how did that change the process of writing the music? Were you guys incredibly conscious as you were going through, like the demo tracking stages and whatnot, of does this emotionally feel like it impacts with the concept and the lyrical idea?
Yeah, I was. When we wrote the lyrics, it was a bit easier because we had like the background for the lyrics, and thus I guess it was easier for Eva to come up with the riffs the same way. But otherwise, the arrangements, the arrangement parts were pretty much the same as they usually are, except that we have some new members, and I had Iver Sunday, the new drummer, on my team as vocal arrangements and stuff like that. So instead of everything was like we really worked much better as a team this time than last time, and everyone was much more involved. And Håkon, the keyboard player, that was kind of thrown into the last recordings for E. He's been in the band for a longer time now, so he was much more comfortable with his role as a keyboard player this time. So everything went a lot smoother actually, because we kind of had the skeleton for everything on this one. So we just had to add some meat and skin and hair, loads of hair.
Lots and lots of hair into that cauldron, baby.
Of course.
Well, teamwork makes the dream work, and I guess that's. I'm trying to formulate a question with regard to, I don't know, what was it maybe that inspired that teamwork, or was it maybe just you mentioned some new members? Was it with their inclusion all of a sudden that things came together this way? It just seems like all of a sudden, especially with regard, it seems like the album's about. I don't know if I want to call it spiritual growth or rebirth. One of the things I have on my desk here is the quote, "This is the rebirth of the individual." And if we were to call Enslaved an individual, then is this almost a rebirth of at least the writing process for?
It's at least a good restart. And of course, when you had two members leave and you add two new ones, of course the band dynamics changed a lot. So we got in two very different musicians compared to the ones that left, and so the enthusiasm were really, really strong this time, and of course the new ones were really, really energetic and came in with lots of ideas. So yeah, it was amazing.
Just imagine these old people are just like, you guys are slave drivers. And like, well, the band is called Enslaved. And they just don't have any energy. They're lethargic. You're like trying to feed them. The gruel is falling, off. They're trying to wipe their bib off. Anyway. And something else that I thought was really kind of interesting, especially because this is the rebirth of the individual and whatnot. In a world that has become so obsessed with the false lights of greed, jealousy, and egotism, this is a necessary journey. With regard to what's been going on this year, does this seem like the right record at the right time? Does it seem kind of maybe eerie?
I've already been mentioning this in other interviews. It's pretty eerie. And it's almost like it was intentional, because what's going on now is the world is pretty much utgård right now. So it's actually pretty scary and a bit cool. Yeah.
And witchcraft or something. Well, that's cool.
Gulder. And Seder. Yeah.
A lot of distant R rolling. It's like a fade out on the R roll.
It's giant magic.
It is giant magic. The funny thing is, I just finished watching a comedy movie Eurovision, which is hilarious, where they get into Iceland and the elves and things. And so I was immediately thinking, like, okay, well, did you guys encounter any elves in Iceland while you were filming the music video? But
I mean, some of the Icelanders actually, they don't only believe, they are really 100% convinced that the elves live there. Elves, dwarfs, giants. And in many ways, you can feel that they still do. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah,
All right. It is perfect in every way. Well, that concludes all the questions that I have. Unless there's anything that you wanted to chat about that I did not bring up, then obviously let me know. Otherwise, sorry?
We already talked about hockey. So, yeah. Let's go Rangers.
Let's go Rangers. How dare you?
Well, actually, that's my NHL team. So, sorry about that.
Well, actually, I was wondering, because a lot of Norwegians that I chat with are into hockey. I was going to ask if you're into hockey.
I am. Yeah, that's my favorite sport.
Very cool.
Yeah,
very cool. There was speaking of which, I just recently chatted with a band from Norway that was supposed to be in that festival that you mentioned, but since it was online, you probably didn't interact with a whole lot of other bands, I imagine. Feleth. I'm trying to remember how to say their name. Feleth. They said that they were going to be in that festival, and I believe at the time they actually mentioned that you guys were going to be there, and they were shaking in their boots.
Oh, I'm actually not familiar with that band.
Mm.
Oh, strange. Yeah. Are they Norwegian?
Yes, they are.
Oh, really? Wow.
I think they said they're from northern Norway.
I don't never go there. It's scary up there. I think God lives in there. No. I'm just kidding.
Totally.
That's a nice place, actually, in north of Norway. But I mean, it's like it's so far away. It's a pain in the ass to get up there. It's like 3 flights, and it costs a fortune. So we rarely go up there, actually. But it's really nice, super nice.
Mm-hmm. Not like that Western Norway vibe.
Well, that's the best, of course. But I mean, going up north in Norway from the western part, it's like you visiting, a Bear Lake or something like that. Yukon, Nunavut. It's far away.
I appreciate your sense of geography. That's fantastic. I mean, get on a little crop duster and spend a couple hours going north, and then see nothing but trees, and go, we really have a lot of land.
Yeah, you have.
That's whenever I've flown up north, which isn't often, but I've done it. That's my thought. I'm like, why do we have? What are we doing with all this land? Why do we have all this land?
Yeah, I think aren't you the second biggest country in the world?
Yes, second largest land mass in the world, right after Russia, baby.
Exactly. Not right after. You're just bragging.
Mm-hmm.
Russia is far bigger, actually.
It's way bigger. That's why they're the first largest landmass. We're the second largest.
All right. Let's not argue about geography.
Certainly. All right. Well, my good man, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on. Unless there's anything else aside from hockey that you wanted to chat about, I just wanted to thank you for coming on
much for the chat. All right. See you in Edmonton sometime. Maybe next year, maybe the year after. We don't know. But still, stay safe.